Well, thanks everybody for joining today. We appreciate you taking some of your time to spend with us this morning. I'd like to start by introducing our featured speaker. Today we've got Dan DeCloss with us. He's our founder and chief technology officer. So Dan, we're thrilled to have you and excited to see everything you're about to show us. So Dan has been in cybersecurity his entire career. So he's got over 17 years of experience, started his career with the Department of Defense, and then moved on to consulting with some very amazing organizations, including Veracode, Mayo Clinic, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then prior to PlexTrac, Dan was the director of cybersecurity for Sensi, where he and his team built their cybersecurity program out of its infancy into a best-in-class program. Dan has a master's degree in computer science from the Naval Postgraduate School with an emphasis in information security. And additionally, Dan holds the OSCP and CISSP certifications. So Dan, thank you again for agreeing to present today.
Absolutely.
Before I turn it over to Dan, I just want to encourage all of you, if you have questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A. The panel will be, we've saved some time at the end for questions. So look forward to having that be a more engaging and interactive part. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. So with that, again, we're really excited to show you all the great new things in PlexTrac today. So Dan, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you run the show.
Yeah, great. And actually you advanced the slide there. Yeah. So hey, thanks, Angie. Yeah. Again, everybody, really excited to be here today. Thanks for the intro. I mean, I know this is probably a mix of people that are exploring PlexTrac or are currently using PlexTrac and want to kind of learn more about what we've just released, which we're very excited about. So really the goal of the last several iterations of our release cycles have been focused on how do we continue to increase the time to value on your report delivery. And, as always, like the impetus of PlexTrac was always to speed up the reporting cycle, provide for better collaboration with your customers and constituents that are receiving your reports, and just be able to improve the overall time to delivery. And so we are always trying to find ways to speed that up and to increase efficiency, especially when it comes to the document exports and being able to have the best-in-class user experience in the platform. So today we're really going to be showcasing three key features that we released in our most recent release, and probably several of you got the release notes and saw the announcement. But this is the webinar to kind of show a lot more of that off and also answer some questions at the end. But I'm going to be running you through our revamped template library and showing you how those can kind of work in the platform and really offer what we're calling a low to no code customization within these pre-built templates that really just speed up how quickly you can get a document exported out of the platform and get a report delivered in whatever capacity that you need. Then we're going to show off some of our capability around customizable style guides. So if you're very familiar with Word documentation, there's styles that exist in Word documents, and we're continuing to be able to release functionality that allows you to set the styles on an export that pass through to that document. And so that's going to be, it'll continue to be a time saver there for a lot of folks, and excited to show that off. And then we'll kind of wrap it up with some really cool functionality we have around the findings layouts themselves. And this is geared towards that in-app experience, being able to consolidate how many findings you may need in a given report. We know a lot of teams have requirements around, hey, these are the things that we always need to report on. And then we've also done some tidying up on our flaw form and our finding fields to be able to show them all in one screen. So these are some things that we consistently get feedback on, and we're excited to be able to deliver on that to reduce the number of clicks that you have in the app. And these are things that we're just continuing to focus on as well. So as we can really improve the efficiency that gains that you get out of using PlexTrac. So with that, I'm going to dive into the demos here, and excited to show off everything. So I really want to point you first. I want to point everybody first to the updated documentation page that we have around export templates, right? So we've had the notion of a template library that has pre-built templates in the past, but we've really with this release we really revamped it, improved it, and really brought a lot more clarity into how you can actually use some of these templates. And actually, we released a lot more and enhanced the ones that we originally had. So I really want to point everybody to this documentation page where you can find everything you need to know about these report export templates. These are genuinely meant to be able to download quickly, upload into the platform, and get going. And then if you have some customizations that you want, we've actually offered a lot of opportunities to do that without having to write any code, within the template itself. And so that really speeds up the value of being able to get a template out and get going. With using a lot of the expertise that we've seen throughout the last several years. We have seen hundreds and thousands of templates across all of our customer bases and people that we've worked with. So we've really taken all that knowledge and the structure of documents and templates to really provide you with the way that we see the industry standards really becoming and have been from a reporting perspective. So we encourage you to lean on our expertise to be able to use these templates effectively and quickly. So you'll see here that we've got several different template types, and I'm not going to go through and show all of them. I'm going to show how to use the multi-scope template because I'm really excited about that one. I'm excited about all of them, but the multi-scope template is very appropriate for this type of a webinar. But know that all of these templates can be easily uploaded and used, and so you'll see some of that. In the style guides demo, I'll actually be using the single scope template. But basically, if you come to our documentation page and you click on any of these, you get kind of an overview of how to use it and how to get started quickly with the template. So you can see navigation over here. So it's going to walk you through how to use these templates and get them set up potentially the way that you want them to. But they're also accessible they're also available to just be used right out of the gate. All you have to do download them and upload them straight into the platform, assign them to your report, and get going. But I'm going to kind of walk through a little bit of the documentation on the multi-scope template just to kind of show you how it flows. Is that here's where you would go download that template. I've already got it downloaded, but I'll go ahead and show you that that's how you do it. And then it walks you through some of the basics of like how to use this template, right? And things like having a few custom fields set up on the report side. And I'll walk through this here in a second. But you can see like we really provided a robust amount of documentation around how to use this and what kinds of tags to assign to different types of findings and whatnot. So particularly with a multi-scope template, that's pretty important. So I'm not going to go through all the rest of the documentation. It's there, but it's pretty easy. Like even if you didn't read it, you can still kind of get going pretty easily. So I'm going to jump over to our multi-scope template. So this can look a little intimidating at first, right? Because if you're new to PlexTrac or new to the templating exercise, that pretty much all of us are aware of when we're in this space of trying to provide standardized templates. There is a templating language behind how we generate these documents, and so the nice thing about these is that you don't have to write any of the code, right? So this can look a little intimidating, but you can see like these are the elements that we can adjust or just leave out of the box, right? So we can set different elements, like we can change the colors of how critical findings are going to look in the document. Same with highs, all the different severity colors. We can change these, but we don't have to. We also have within each template, we have a series of different types of cover pages. So I've gone ahead and set this to cover page 4, but we actually have, I think, about 7 that you can choose from. And this also gives you the flexibility if you wanted to insert your own cover page, you could just swap your images and cover pages out for one of these options as well. There's a lot of cool options that you can read through, but you don't have to change anything. And so like what I'm showing you today is I haven't actually changed anything within this multi-scope template. So when we talk about the true functionality that we're providing with this multi-scope template, it's pretty slick, right? So we want to be able to say like, hey, throughout an engagement, we actually did different types of tests. So we actually did maybe an internal network penetration test alongside a web application penetration test. But we want to consolidate all those findings into a single report, as well as being able to highlight the different sections within the document. So to be able to split those out from a single report. And that's really what the multi-scope template is going to allow us to do. And so this is really handy. If you're a current customer, you may have had our team create one of these for you, in a custom fashion. And now we have that capability just out of the box with these low code and no code templates. So you'll see here, these are the scope definitions that we'll have to supply on the report and how the prefix will look when they come into the findings tables. And you can change these so that way, when you do upload the template, it'll supply the right prefix for whatever you want. So if I'm doing an internal penetration test and I don't want the prefix to be int, I can change this to whatever I want the prefix to be, or I could leave it blank, and it'll flow through to the document the way that you want it to look, right? So these are just we're just walking through all of the different options that you have, and this is why we call it a low code to no code opportunity, is that we've provided everything by default for you. So the notion of you don't have to do anything and you can get value out of it right away. And so let's just kind of jump over and see what that looks like. So I'm logged into PlexTrac, and if you're not familiar with how to get a template into the platform, here's where we do that. So I'll start with the export templates, and you can see here I've actually uploaded the multi-scope template that I was just showing you before, and I didn't adjust any of the code in that template, and then I have assigned that to a report template that is right here, and it's called the webinar demo. And you can see here that I've actually assigned this multi-scope template export to this report template. We're from Idaho here, so we like to make potato jokes, and I hear there's a lot of innovation happening in the AI world around potatoes, and so that's the notion of who's writing this report today. But these are the basic fields that are required, not necessarily required, but are available on default export. And so this is what populates the cover page. And if we had not populated one of these, you just see in the document that the company address was not set, right? And if you're not as familiar with PlexTrac, in the report template capability, we can supply narrative sections out of the gate. So anytime you select this report, these are the sections that will show up from a narrative perspective. And so this was like we built this just as an example to show how it works. And actually, this is something I will delete. So like I can always come back in and adjust the report templates anytime I need, and then save it off. So we'll go over to our report section here, and I will create a new report, and I'm going to select the client that I'm delivering it for. And so we'll just initially call this the webinar demo multi-scope. And now we go ahead and select that. We'll select the terminal, the webinar demo itself. Findings layouts I'll show here in a second, but I'm not going to set any of those today. I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, we started this engagement on Monday and we're going to finish it tomorrow. And then I'm going to go ahead and tag this. So since this is multi-scope, I get to tag this with the types of scopes, the types of engagements that we're doing. So I'm going to say that we're doing an internal pen test. And then I'm going to also say, hey, we also threw in some web app testing there. So you notice because I selected that report template, it automatically populated these fields for me. And I could have left those blank in the templating section, so I could populate them here. And that's just a nice add that we always have with PlexTrac. So go ahead and submit this report. and some basic functionality that's always been there for quite a while now within PlexTrac is obviously you see the narrative sections that automatically came in as a part of that report template. Again, this is the handiness of having a content library and templating exercises. I've already got some pre-built content that I want to go ahead and bring in. So I'm just going to come back and you'll see here are all the details again. So we do have that webinar's demo export template associated. I'll show off another couple quick features and functionality. So we've populated all of those report details, and we've got the short codes here within PlexTrac. And so I'm going to go ahead and just polish that up, and I'm going to replace those short codes. And so you see that all those short codes are now replaced here accordingly. Now I need to get some findings into the report, right? So we obviously have several ways within PlexTrac to add findings. I'm going to briefly just bring in a quick Nessus file to quickly populate. There we are. And then this is a nice thing. So I'm actually not going to tag the findings here because I'm going to show you how you can do this for the multi-scope, but we can obviously tag findings when we bring this in. So that's uploaded and parsing, and so now I've got these findings here. Not a ton of findings, but you can see they came in, and I've got an asset associated with them, and so all pretty standard PlexTrac functionality. So let's go ahead and select a couple, or several, and I'm gonna go ahead and tag these as the internal findings, which is there. So those findings are saved as now. Those are the findings that are associated with the internal penetration test scope. And then let's kind of filter some of this out. Oh, I guess they all had tags, right? Sorry. Okay. And then so I now filter that. So now I'll go ahead and add tags that have the web app one. So now we should have findings in both categories, right? So we've got some web app findings, and we've got some network internal pen test ones, right? So did I lose a finding? Sorry, here once. Oh, I know. That's why. So okay, so you'll see we've got I must have missed this one. Oh, that's because I've got a lot of findings. I forget. We got more than just a handful. So let's make sure we get all these tags affiliated the way we want them to. So we'll go ahead and tag some more of these as internal as well. So now we have a series of findings that are tagged as internal, and a series of findings that are tagged as external, or sorry, web app. Okay, so we've got about 30 some odd findings in here. We've got our narrative section set up, and this is all just kind of, hey, we've got the report ready to go. We do have it in a multi-scope template. So now we're going to just export and show off that. I didn't notice I had that template. I had uploaded it. I didn't adjust any of the code within like the Jinja settings. I didn't even have to change any of the defaults. It just came out of the box that way. And so once this downloads, we're going to be able to see how it looks. So all right, so this is the default, or I think this is actually like section or cover page number 4. We have like I said, a series of cover pages, but you'll see it automatically populated the report information in terms of the author and all of those. As always, we'll go ahead and just update this, and this is what's pretty cool is that we now have our those executive sections and summary sections that came in from the report template. But we also have now all those findings split out into those multiple scopes. So let's just dive right straight to there. And you'll see here are the internal penetration test findings. And we've got this basic layout. And this is a standard layout from the template itself. We didn't have to adjust any of this. And then you'll also see that these findings were prefixed, tagged with the int prefix as based on how we set it in the in those low code options, right? And so that's a really handy thing. And then like let's jump back up. Oh, and you can also see here, here's the findings tables where they're also split out between the internal assessment and the web app assessment. So in a span of about 5 minutes, we were able to bring in results that we simulated from both a web app scan as well, or web app test, as well as a internal penetration test, and quickly and easily able to separate those out into two sections of a multi-scope template. And so this is really the value that this low code to no code templating experience really provides, is that we have a pretty robust template experience to be able to deliver quickly and be able to show off how we can do multiple scopes within a template. And I think one thing to just kind of highlight it's not limited to two. You can tag the sections of the report and tag the findings however you would like, in terms of you can have one or more scopes. And I show two just to kind of highlight it, but we could have had three. So if we'd been doing an internal penetration test, a web application penetration test, as well as an external penetration test, that's all applicable for this single multi-scope template. So that is, and I'll just kind of come back. I'll come back to the template again, just to kind of highlight that I can always come back in here and say like, yeah, I didn't like how these looked, or I might want to change the cover page to a different one. I can do that, or I might want to set my own, and I can just go into one of these options. So once we get through a lot of the Jinja code that again is pre-built for you, you don't have to touch this at all if you don't want to. So I can adjust which of these cover pages I want to select. So I could, if I wanted to have it non-PlexTrac branded, I could just swap out our cover page, your cover page for this one, for one of these, and use those and be off to the races. So that's the value of having this low code option. So just to kind of recap this section of the demo, we've got the documentation that walks you through all the different things that you can set, so this is handy in terms of like all those options that you see. This documentation will walk you through that, but you don't have to do anything, and you can be off to the races in minutes. And so that's the really enhanced capabilities that we have with our default library and template libraries for being able to just pull some stuff down, make minor adjustments if any, and be off to the races. and then we showed you how you do that in the platform. Okay, so let's now jump over to how we talk about style guides, right? So there's a lot of organizations that have requirements on how things are supposed to look in the document, right? And so when we talk about style guides, that's really how you want things to look and feel when you export the document, and how certain settings of text and whatnot should look, and even to the point of putting borders around images and things like that. So everybody has their own desires, so to speak, on some of these more custom templates and the way that you report. So our mission is to continue to bring that functionality to the platform, so that you're spending less time managing the document, and you can just upload it and go, and be able to have those settings in the platform that pass on through. So that's really what we've released with the capability within style guides. And this did come out. This came out with the last release. It's not technically in beta now because it is general availability, but it's some really cool functionality. So we offer out of the gate a default style guide. You can always assign no style guide to a template when you're exporting it, but we have some default settings that you can supply if you'd like, and then also you can edit them. And you can create as many style guides as you want. So if you have a different style guide for the different types of reports that you're doing, or if like there's different settings that you have from a requirements perspective of who you're delivering these to. So if there's regulatory requirements where they have to fit in a certain look and feel, you can specify those exactly, right? So I'm going to kind of show off one that I edited because it's a little fun for me. we've basically have the capability to set styles on specific elements within the document. So first off, we have the option to set code blocks. The nice thing here is that you can actually specify, hey, within the Word document, what style should we be setting to use when we export to this to the document, and what should the caption actually style be look like. So like, if you'll see here that I've got the code sample caption set, and if I come over to the document, and this one I'm actually going to show off the single scope template, or no, actually I'm sorry, it's going to be the generic template. So you'll see here, this code sample caption is what I'm going to be exporting whenever I have a caption on the code block. I want it to look like this when it comes into the document, right? And so I just go ahead and say, okay, well, I've set this style in my document, so I just need to reflect that in the UI. So you'll see it's this code sample caption. If you kind of come into Word and you were to say, hey, what's the actual name of it, you'll see that's the name of it. So that's where I grab that name from. And if you're in Windows based Office, it should look the same of how you go grab that name. So you just copy and paste that straight into there. And so then any caption that I put on a code block, it'll pass through to that style, which is really handy. But let's say I wasn't using like a more robust style. I could just add a prefix if I wanted to. You can have the prefix be either set on the style itself, or actually within the platform, you can set the prefix, and that will also pass through with the caption. But you see here, out of the gate, normally it's a consoles font for code blocks themselves. I've gone ahead and set it to Courier New, just to kind of show you that we can change the different types of fonts from here that will pass through to these objects. And then you can specify the font size. And so this is where I had some fun. I'm an old school person by trade, and so I decided that, hey, for my code blocks, I want them to look like the old terminal used to back when I was a kid, with the classic green and black background. So I went ahead and changed the font color to be green, and the background of these code blocks to be black. We have a border color of black. I could change that to something else too. I can set the width. I can also default the alignment of these code blocks, right? And that's pretty handy, where you don't have to necessarily be setting, if you have standards like, hey, all code blocks need to be centered, then you don't have to be worrying about in the platform, did everybody center their code blocks. This just overrides any settings that it looks like in the UI, and it passes that setting on through to the code blocks and centers them automatically. So this is another one of those pieces that we add value in terms of, like, once you have this, you just set it and forget it, right? So I've saved this style guide, and so that's called the cool second one. We had our default, and I then go over to this single scope generic template that I uploaded, and it's I just pulled it straight from the website, didn't do anything different to it, didn't adjust any of the code settings, and then I just assign this style guide to this export template. And so then once you have the in-app report template set up, we make sure that we've got one that's set up, and we're just using that export template of the single scope generic. So basically what this does is it ties the in-app report template to the style guide to the export template. And this is all documentation on our website too. So if I come over to my report section, I'm actually just going to show you, because I already kind of set this one up for the demo's sake. But I created a single scope test using that same report template. So I called this the terminal code blocks, just to make sure I know which one I'm talking about. And again, same kind of settings in terms of the report. Just make sure that this saves. I went ahead and added a single finding just to kind of show it off, and I'll go ahead and make an edit to that caption as well, so you can actually see how the caption flows through. So I just filled out some of the basic information that we need, but here's how it's going to look in the platform, because this is how we present it in the UI. And I just have this, and oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. We don't have code blocks with captions enabled in this setting here, but that's actually coming out in the next release, and you'll see that very soon. But we do have the ability to still pass those styles through on the code block itself. So this is a good finding. Let's come back here to the finding section, and then we will export it. And so now what it's doing is it's basically creating that report, taking the style settings that we set in the style guide and applying them to the document, effectively overriding anything that we had originally set, in the UI. So here's that generic template. So you can see it's a different cover page. I didn't change anything here. If we, update the table of contents, we can come over to the findings section, and this is just really cool. I mean, I don't know, for some of those old school folks, this may make your day, because it kind of brings you back to playing Frogger on a compact portable computer. So, but you'll see, like, we didn't have to go in and change this on the document, right? So it passed these styles straight on through. Didn't have to do any adjustments in the UI for the document's sake. And we're excited about this because we're just going to continue to enhance the styles that we can pass through the document, and then eventually be able to actually pass these styles into the UI. So what you see is actually what you're going to get when you download. But again, just another way to extrapolate how you can set styles in the UI that pass straight on through the document. Again, providing additional value for less touch up and any kind of post-processing activities that might need to happen when you're polishing your final export. Okay, so that is style guides. We're really excited about that, and I'll kind of come back and highlight. Here's all of the additional capabilities that we have within style guides, and that's you can do things on code blocks, same things like images. You can set the borders, things like that. You can adjust how you want some things to look within the tables as they're being exported, as well as the color of the hyperlink, right? So if I wanted that color of the hyperlink to be green, I could set that to green as well, or purple, and but that's the default is blue, right? So we're going to continue to enhance these two and provide more as we move forward, and adding to some of these. But this is a great start and things that are very commonly asked for from our customers themselves. Okay, and then to kind of finalize some of the cool stuff that we've released, I want to talk about findings layouts. So in the notion of a finding, you'll see we have PlexTrac provides some default fields, and then others will add their own custom fields, which is very common. And then also some teams will say, like, hey, we don't actually use this field, and we don't actually need this field. We need these fields. And I just want to make sure that my testers know, like, these are the only things that we need to fill out. So in the past, basically, if there was a default field that PlexTrac supported, it always showed up in the finding form. And so it might add extra time to a tester that's having to fill that out, or they might miss a field that was a custom field that needed to be there. And so we've really expanded the capability of having findings layouts, as well as having them all in the same form. So the notion of a findings layout, and I've created one here, but I'm going to show you how to kind of create your own new one. So I'll just start from our default. I can always take one from one that I've created before, but let's just start with our default. So this here, what this shows you is, like, these are all the default fields that come in the finding form when you just are getting started with PlexTrac right out of the gate. So let's just call this one the webinar demo as well. And let's say, like, okay, like I like having the severity and the score. I think those are all good. I'm gonna and this is another important thing to note too, is that if it has an X next to it, you can remove that. There are some where, just based on our data structure and ways that we do analytics and things behind the scenes, there are a few fields that just have to be there, right? The title, the severity, the status and substatus. Well, the status being combined with the substatus, start and end date and description. Those are the fields that we have to have as PlexTrac. Aside from that, you don't have to have these fields. So let's say like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about the assign to field for this. And we're not worried about CWE. We're just going to track CVE. But everything else looks good. I think I'm going to have that. Although I kind of like having the CVE ID up here by the score. So let's just make sure I got, kind of where, or actually, no, I kind of like this. I like it this way. How about that? So, this kind of starts to flow the way that I like to report it. Let's say I'm more focused on, some vulnerability scanning or, some heavy exploits. And so I want to have the CVE ID pop right out of the gate. Right. But I've also got some custom fields that we need to add. I like to say, like, let's just call this one exploitability. And so we have a key value and then the actual label itself. If I can type. And you can fill in a default value or not. We're going to go ahead and leave that blank. And then we're going to save that layout, right? So what this now does is it has those default fields laid out the way that we want them to, as well as it brings in the layout of the custom fields tacked in right below it. So let's go see what this looks like. So we'll create a new report. We will call it the layouts test for awesome CVE IDs. And now we'll select the we'll select let's just go ahead and say this is the template that we're going to export it out to if we needed to. And now I can pick the different types of findings layouts that I have, right? So we'll go ahead and say the webinar layout. I don't need to do anything else here per se. So now if we come over to the findings, let's say, okay, we've spent some good amount of time exploiting some really cool stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and create a finding right out of the gate, blank finding. So you'll notice that I've got the CVE ID right here under the score, and the assigned to field is not there. And then here's the exploitability, right? So this is how the finding layout now looks. I could always come back and I could show you that concise one just as an example. So I think I applied that maybe to this one. Oops, sorry. So basically the concise one, I removed a lot of fields. So actually, no, that was the default one. So let's create a new one just to kind of show you what it looks like in comparison to the concise. We'll do the concise, we'll save it, come over to findings, add a finding. And here I removed a lot of fields. So you'll see it just has the score, the status, the description, and the recommendations, right? So and I didn't have any custom findings associated with it. So so that's a pretty cool feature that we now have supported, to be able to allow testers, one, to have a single form for all of their findings and finding fields, as well as they can be in the order that we want them to be, right? So so I'll just kind of highlight again that this is where we go to do that. You come to layouts, and here's the concise view just to kind of see like severity, score, status, description, recommendation, start and end date. Those were the fields that we had assigned to it. We didn't have any custom fields. And then on the demo layout, we had them in this order. So you saw that CVID was actually, placed above where the tags were, where it was kind of originally located. So all really cool functionality that we've come out with, all meant to, one, help your in-app experience be the best that it can be, and allow you to be more collaborative and set some standards across the different types of engagements that you're going to be doing, providing as much customization as possible in an intuitive and easy way. That's always our goal. We always love taking feedback. A lot of these have stemmed from customer feedback as well. So we want you to know that we're hearing you and continuing to invest in your experience within PlexTrac as well. And then also being able to supply some industry expertise that we continue to see along the way. And that's through the value that we're providing with that template library and being able to get off and running. Sorry about that. being able to get off and running as soon as you get into PlexTrac. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing because I'm sure there are some questions and anything
Yes,
else
we
that
do
people
have
might
we
need.
do have some good
Oh, I
questions.
can't hear you. I cannot hear you, Angie.
I'm still here. I unmuted. Can you hear me
At least
now?
I don't think I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Unless when I dropped my mic, it might have done something. I don't know. You can still hear me? Okay. Okay. And you guys can hear Angie. Okay. All right. Well, then I'm just gonna have to read these. Sorry, Angie. I might have messed up my mic when I dropped it here. So is PlexTrac cloud hosted or can we host it on site? You can. We do have a cloud hosted version. We do have the capability to host it on prem or in your own private cloud as well. That's an easy one. Okay, and if we are providing a report for a client and the report is an executive summary, can we pull data from multiple different reports within Plex? So for example, we did an internal vulnerability assessment, a web app, and an external pen test. We want to send the client separate reports to dig into a deeper level, but also an executive summary report, which highlights from each assessment we completed within the engagement. That's exactly like one of the use cases for that multi-scope template, where you can have all of those different summary sections in the narrative section, and you can tag them accordingly, and then create you can have different templates that you assign as you export out, right? So in short answer, yes, you can do that. And that's the value of being able to tag those different sections, because the tagging can also be done at the narrative side as well as the finding side, and being able to do that with a multi-scope template. At that point, you would have to adjust our out of the box multi-scope template to just say, hey, I just want these. I just want an executive summary template for web app, and then you can select that when you're in the details. And I'll show you here just to make sure. So when you're in the details, you would just come into, like, say, a multi-scope a multi-scope test, right? And then before you export, just change the export template, right? So if you would have like a list of the different types of templates, you just change it there and then hit export. So that is a way to be able to supply that capability to your customers. Okay, I think we've got a question in the chat, and I'm sorry, Angie, I'm not hearing you. If you're
I'm
talking,
still here. Sorry, you can't hear
so
me.
let's see.
But yeah, we do have a question
File
in the chat.
formats does findings can be imported to the platform? Can they be added through APIs? So yes, you can add findings through API as well as in the platform. So I'll go ahead and show that off too, because that's always a good thing to know. So we have two types of integrations. We have our static integrations and our API based integrations. So the static integrations are where you would import from a file. And these are all the sources that we have. They are listed on our website. So as you can see, we've got a pretty robust list. And we always like to pride ourselves in like trying to make sure that these are robust integrations, not just saying that we have an integration, but we actually do, a very good job of trying to bring in the right data, mapping it and normalizing it to help you achieve your goals, and not messing around with missing fields and things like that. And we always take feedback on additional integrations that you'd like to see from the static side. So these are the ones that we support on the static side. And then we have API-based automations or integrations. Sorry. So if we come over to our admin section here, in the integrations section, you'll see these are the ones that you can set up from a license or an API-based perspective. And you'll see I have Jira selected here. So the nice thing is not only can we support integrations from being able to bring data in, but also to be able to support the workflow for the tracking or remediation, which is a huge value add for PlexTrac. Keeping folks centered in the platform, and being able to actually track that remediation that then bubbles into analytics. All right. So I'm going to try and see if there's anything else, Angie. I'm going to try and read your lips to see if there's anything else I missed.
I think we covered it.
All right. I think we're
Uh,
good.
Great.
Apologies for the late the late webinar technical difficulties with me dropping my mic, but really appreciate everybody joining us today. You have this functionality now in PlexTrac in your instance. If you're a current customer, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon. We've got some exciting stuff coming down the road from a product delivery perspective, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, stay healthy and safe.